welcome back to the Dynamite Sports Podcast. My name is Noah Vasallo. Sitting across the table from me is high school athlete Trey Vasallo. Sitting next to him is RBLR correspondent Tyler Vasallo. In front of him is the one and only bladder cancer warrior Michael Vasallo, and I am Noah Vasallo, your executive producer of the Dynamite Sports Podcast. Welcome back. Wow, that's 5.
Today we're going to do some Rays preview. The Tampa Bay Rays spring training has kicked off, and so we are excited about the upcoming baseball season. But there's a lot to learn about the Rays, and we're trying to get up to speed ourselves because we've been so enthralled with football season. So there are some new faces for the Rays, and I don't know if you guys want to shout out any that you are aware of, but we've got some new faces and new places to help the Rays this season.
Ha-Seong Kim. What a second baseman from the Padres. Shortstop. Well, he also plays second.
He
from
plays
the
like
Padres.
everything.
Yeah, he's
I swear,
everything.
he's so good. I had my fantasy baseball team last year. He was so good.
Contact hitter.
Is G-Man Choi still a Ray?
No, Tyler.
I have a Brett Phillips jersey. Is that still in
No, we got to
fashion?
do the new faces, guys. We got to get used to the new
Corey
players.
Dickerson?
No.
Logan Morrison?
No.
Steven
No.
Souza Jr.?
So Ha-Seong Kim is someone to get excited about. However, we will not see him until May at the earliest because he is coming off of injury. The Rays also added a catcher in Danny Jansen.
I do know that name.
Yeah.
I do know that name.
I hope he plays real
I'm actually
good.
kind of excited about that.
We haven't had a good catcher since, what, Mike Zunino?
I wouldn't call Mike Zeno a great catcher.
I mean, well, he was a pretty good hitter.
Danny Jansen will definitely be the best hitter we've had since probably Travis d'Arnaud to play catcher. As a defender, I'm not incredibly familiar, but historically that's the focus when you have a catcher for the Rays, at least.
658 OPS last season in 92 games between the Blue Jays and the Red Sox. And so he is above average offensively, but he is, of course, as Tyler noted, maybe not the greatest defensive catcher. Of course, we like having defensive catchers with the Rays because pitching is so important. Some other new faces with the Rays are some younger guys that are going to get longer looks, like Jonathan Aranda is going to be around.
Yeah.
Going to be getting some looks. Christopher Morel was new to us last season toward the end of the year as a trade wire pickup, and he brings some power in the back end. But the Rays really, I mean, other than those two acquisitions, that they are really kind of rolling with what they had already. One of the things that they are always known for in their calling card is their pitching staff, and they're actually coming in with kind of a pitching surplus into the season this year as far as their starters.
Yeah, everybody got healthy real quick over the offseason. It's also interesting to think about the prospects finally starting to develop again for the Rays. They go through bouts where they have 2 or 3 guys that are going to be really exciting. So, as everybody knows, Junior Caminero got called up at the end of the last year, and he was pretty good. I'm very excited because he looked very good in off-season tournaments that he played in.
Yes.
And they also have Curtis Mead, who's looked very good so far in spring training. They're very excited about that, potentially competing with Yandy Diaz to start at third base, which would bump Diaz to DH.
Or first base, where he was playing.
Or first base, but most likely DH, because that would make their infield defense very, very good. And the other one is Carson Williams, I believe is his name. Hang on, let me find it again. I was just reading it. Just reading it.
Come on, Tyler.
Carson Williams, I was right. He's another shortstop that they're looking at bringing up early in the year potentially, who is going to be another exciting bat for them.
So, since he mentioned the name, let's jump to Junior Caminero because I think the Rays are holding a lot of hopes with Caminero.
Yeah, he's a fantastic hitter. He's officially listed on ESPN as a third baseman, but he can play shortstop and second as well. Fantastic fielder, fantastic hitter. Shows a lot of power at the plate, not as much contact. But he was, from Barry Bonds himself, actually quoted by saying that he's improved mentally and physically this offseason, which is something that the Rays wanted, obviously. But I like that because the last scare that we had as a Rays fan was Wander Franco, who was not ready mentally but was ready physically. And I'm very glad to hear that coming out of Barry Bonds' mouth.
I think it's exciting that the Taylor Walls days are probably over.
Yes.
What do you mean?
He was hitting like 106 last year or something atrocious like that.
He's a fantastic fielder.
He's a great defender.
But,
Don't get
I
me
mean-
wrong. But if you're gonna field a roster, you can't have all these guys that can't hit, including Taylor Walls, just because they're good at defense. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And the Rays are also hanging their hat in the outfield on putting Johnny DeLuca full-time in center field in place of Jose Siri. He had a limited sample last year, and so they're hoping that his extended visit this year as a starter will pay off big.
Yeah. And Siri was a good fielder, relatively, and he was an okay hitter. But what I really liked out of DeLuca is his speed in the outfield and on the base paths, because he showed it a lot for the Rays last year.
Yeah, the Rays are looking at another one of these seasons where they're limited by their hitting. That's going to be the limiting factor in how many wins they're actually going to be able to get to, because it looks like the pitching staff's going to be pretty good. But you know, it's going to be hard to watch Johnny DeLuca out there as a hitter again.
It just like randomly turned up. I don't know what just happened.
Okay, we're fine.
Okay.
$5.
But that pitching right there, the pitching is fantastic this year. Here's the starters. I'll give you this: McClanahan, Rasmussen, Littell, Pepiot, Bradley, Baz, and new face Joe Boyle, who is 6'7", 240.
Jeez.
Yeah,
So-
he's a big man.
And one interesting
Get him
thing
on a
that
basketball court.
we'll have to shake out in spring training is who among those will start, because you just listed 7 names. I don't think Big Joe is one of those names
Yeah.
right now. But with the signing of Drew Rasmussen, that's a 6-man rotation. They're not going to roll with a 6-man
Right.
rotation. So somebody's going to have to either take a seat in the bullpen or go back down. Right now, the odd man out in most of the previews that I'm reading is Rasmussen, actually. The Rays just re-signed him coming back off of an injury. He did spend time in the bullpen last year when he came back from injury. But, you know, Littell is an innings eater. But you got to look at Shane McClanahan at the top as the
ace.
bell cow ace in this rotation.
And
PPO, Baz, and Bradley have all none of them have gone anywhere near 200 innings in a season. So it'll remain to be seen. Of course, being a Rays fan, we know that we're going to start with 5 pitchers, but we're not going to end with the same 5. So
Yeah.
we're gonna need the depth.
I think if Bradley and McClanahan can stay healthy, that this is probably a good enough pitching staff to win the AL.
And Tyler Alexander,
honestly.
who almost threw a no-hitter against the Yankees last year, he is back in the minors, I believe. But that's another face that I'm hoping to see back up in the majors.
Yeah, there's a lot to be hopeful for in that department. They've always been really good at developing their pitchers, as long as I can remember watching baseball.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be excited about. Dude, they have like
Fact check: Tyler Alexander signed a 1-year contract with the Brewers this season.
Yeah, I'll give it to myself. Yeah.
and so okay, yeah, there you go. It's shaping up to be an exciting season. I think that's fair to say.
And of course, we've got the specter of the stadium. How will the Rays play outside, in front of smaller crowds at the Steinbrenner Field? And we have the specter of what's going to happen with Tropicana Field. And I don't want to. We want to think of these guys as robots, but you've got to understand these guys are humans in the background, and whether or not they play at Tropicana Field, whether or not they play at Steinbrenner next season, if they have families and kids and homes, what does that mean? And so if that's playing in the background, that could end up being a factor as well, that might not be reported as much. So I hope things get worked out for the long term for these players so that they can focus on the field.
Yeah, it's also important to remember they don't live in Tampa. I would assume the majority of them live in St. Petersburg or Largo, Clearwater, somewhere in there, somewhere in the Pinellas County area. So it's definitely going to. I think it's going to play a factor in some way. I think that's almost a definite.
Yeah. They do have 5 relievers that I wanted to talk about.
5 relievers.
Go
5.
for it.
Fairbanks, love that guy.
And that's the back end guy. He's the
Yeah,
closer.
there's Fairbanks.
I love Fairbanks.
Edwin Uceda. Uceda did not play enough last year, but he is a fantastic closer. Now, Garrett Clevenger, Kevin Kelly, and Hunter Bidgie.
I recognized a couple of those names.
I do not recognize Hunter Bidgie.
That was actually one of the
He's one of the new
names I
signings.
do
believe.
recognize.
Is one of the ones you
I don't
guys
know
tell
where
me about
from.
it.
I don't know why I recognize the name. I just know that I recognize it. Maybe I'm doing the Biggio thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think was he a Padre? I feel like. I don't know. The Rays and Padres have a bunch of correlation. I don't understand that.
There's a lot of crossover there.
Yeah, well, we
Yeah.
called him
Fernando
up at the end of the
Tatis.
season to replace Colin Poche in the bullpen. The Rays like to collect different types of pitchers, and among that group that Noah mentioned, you've got some guys, some hard throwers, some guys that have a lot of movement on the ball, and they like to throw a lot of have a Swiss Army knife bullpen where they can throw different styles and arm angles at you.
Yeah, and this guy moved up to the majors for the first time in his career, I believe, in 2024.
He was with the Cubs.
He's been playing with the Cubs. He played a lot of college ball. He had a mediocre ERA, but I think what the Rays are just looking for is another body. Because what we've seen the Rays be able to do is turn this guy, who we've never heard of before, into some fantastic pitching. And that's what I see in him.
I will
see
always
that.
trust the Rays scouting for bullpen guys.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the pitchers.
Because we turned Snell,
We need offense.
Class now. Charlie Morton got revived with us. Like, that's some classic Rays stuff to do.
Yeah, well, I'm also thinking of guys like Colin Poche that I just mentioned is not with us this year. But they'd always just pull guys off the scrap heap and they figure something out, make them focus on like 2 pitches, and all of a sudden, they're
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember the last time the Rays had like a true offensive force in the regular season. I think
Yeah.
I think you have to go all the way back to Logan Morrison,
okay.
who was like he had 40 home runs for us one year.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been a struggle, but the Rays are always willing to play the small ball, rely on the defense, rely on the pitching, and I do wish that they could find some slugger, maybe 2 or 3, if I'm feeling a little greedy. But it's part of the brand. I think it's become part of being a Ray.
It is
Yeah.
part of being a Ray, and it's really part of being a Tampa fan too.
I mean,
Yeah,
in Tampa, pretty
except
much we
for-
play defense for most of my life of watching sports in Tampa.
Literally
the
all of
Rays,
them.
the Lightning, the
Except
Bucs
for
are
that
known for
one
their
season when
defense.
we went like 25-3, and then we completely choked in the playoffs. We were scoring like 15, 16 runs a game. Remember that?
It's a little high, but you were young, so you might not remember.
25
No.
and 3.
26-3, I think. It was
Is
like
that the COVID
2022.
year?
No, it was
They did have a year
it
where
was-
they
it
got
was
off
like-
to a fast
Oh,
start.
yeah.
like
And then
a
everything
hot
evened
yes,
out.
where we
15-0.
They won like
Yeah.
their first 12 at home or something like that.
Yeah.
We went to one of those games against
Yep.
the
And
Athletics, of course.
we beat like the Detroit Lions, like
And
or
they fell
Detroit
apart.
Tigers, whatever, like 15-1. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They completely fell apart
What was that season?
after that win streak, unfortunately.
Once you start getting injuries.
Yep. The injury bug bit him real hard. And the injury bug got him the next year, too, which was last year. Yeah. It is interesting that all these Tampa teams are historically known for their defense. Both Tampa Super Bowls are thanks to the defense. The Rays, great pitchers, great defense, pretty much for my entire life. I think, Longoria had Golden Gloves. I think Zobrist had Golden Gloves. Kiermaier. And then, you even look at the Lightning, Andre Vasilevsky, Ben Bishop,
Oh, yeah.
Victor Hedman. That is weird. That is something
In
to think
Tampa,
about.
we play defense.
Yeah, for real. I'd be curious to look at the Rowdies. Didn't they have a goalkeeper that played on the Olympic team or something like that at one point?
You're really stretching me now
Yeah,
with
no.
that sports knowledge.
But yeah, I want to talk about MVP odds with you guys. So, I'm going to give mine first. But my AL MVP, he's a little bit of a throw-off from the pack. But I'm going to take Vlad Guerrero for that. Because I think Vlad Guerrero's had a good hitting streak in the last couple of years. And I think he finally capitalizes with this revived defense that they have now. And I think he takes home his first MVP.
It's a contract year for him, too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And my NL MVP, he's a Dodger, and his name is Shohei Ohtani. There's no doubt. I mean, he's the best baseball player that I'll ever watch with my eyes. And yeah, that's my choice. Who wants to go next?
Shohei feels too obvious. But,
he's the greatest baseball player probably to step on the mound and in the batter's box.
It's not like anybody else is going to be successful in the National League this season, so Shohei is definitely the safest choice. For the American League, I honestly struggle to think about anybody else. Guerrero's certainly a solid choice. What about Aaron Judge? You don't think he's going to follow up this past season?
I think that Juan Soto, his absence this year is going to be a little bit weird. I know it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any difference.
He had a star next to him who absolutely had the bat for anything. So I don't think that he's going to be there. I think he might have another injury season.
What about Soto for NL MVP?
I was thinking about that, but we have Shohei over there. So are those your two picks right there?
You think the big contract gives him a big boost?
No.
I mean, you also got to think about, a guy like Bryce Harper. Maybe he pops off this year. Maybe he has a big year. There's a lot of names in the NL that you're forgetting about. There's a lot of names in baseball in general. Even like a brighter star, maybe from the Orioles.
Oh God.
They've got a lot of young guys over there. I think the AL East is once again shaping up to be the most stacked division of baseball.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I think it has been for probably 12 years now.
It's because the Yankees and the Sox are there, and then
You
people
also-
overlook the Blue Jays and the Orioles, and then of course the Rays.
The Rays have one of the best winning percentages since like 2013 in the entire league.
Even though they've been...
They still have a playoff win percentage.
You get stuck in a wild card. It's one game, so
Yeah. Mhm.
it's harder to build wins there. But even the Orioles and the Blue Jays will have years every once in a while. I think it's almost a curse for the Rays because you got to win 100 games, and you also have to beat the other two teams that are going to win 100 games in the division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Trey, do you got MVPs?
I mean, Shohei's good. Shohei.
Yeah.
There's nothing outside of Shohei.
That's your NL. Yeah. What about your AL MVP?
I don't have the divisions memorized, dude. Like,
Oh God.
I'm not a baseball fan. It's boring.
Dang, Trey.
Wow.
Wow.
Ooh,
Wow.
Trey, you gonna rant about this?
Wow.
Should I rant about
disenfranchise
this?
our viewers.
No.
Wow.
No? I could.
All right.
I might do that next week.
I'm going to be boring and say Shohei and Judge. So
No Mike Trout, guys.
no.
He's gotten injured too
How
much.
old is he, 35?
He is getting moved to right field for the first time in his career, which I think that could help him. But he'll get a Golden Glove.
You got to remember Rosarena is a Mariner
He's
still.
33.
Adolis Garcia. There are
See,
still other names.
I was thinking about
From way outside
Julio
looking in.
Rodriguez
Julio
as
Rodriguez?
one of my MVP candidates because he played pretty well last year and he got a
Pretty well is
hot
an
streak
understatement.
on the second half of the season.
I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say Tim Anderson.
Yummy.
Chicago White Sox.
Yeah,
I actually
that's an
don't even know if he
interesting
plays for that team anymore.
God.
Tim Anderson.
Like,
Hold
you should
on.
fight somebody
I
one
think
time.
he's a free agent.
Jose
right?
Dude, he was
Martinez. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead with my World Series pick now, because that's the last piece of this puzzle that we got to put together. So in the World Series from the AL, the losing team that I have going there, I'll see it out.
The losing team. you
Yes,
have?
this is my losing team.
So so you're saying they'll make the World Series, but they're going to lose to the.
Yes.
You just have a way of saying things sometimes. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So the AL team in the World Series I see currently is the wow, I can't even say words. Toronto Blue Jays. I think they come out hot the first half of this season, and I see them getting in the playoffs and pulling it off.
Dude, do you have Guerrero like breaking the home run record or something?
Something like that.
I don't think that team's going to be any good.
I think that
I
but they're losing. And they're losing to the hottest team in baseball, to the Blake Snell, to the Shohei Ohtani, to the fantastic Dodgers. I don't see anybody
I
else
don't.
winning anything.
unless literally everyone on that roster gets injured.
That pitching staff is the best that I will ever see in my
This
Yeah,
is
but
probably-
are they going to stay healthy? They
Yes.
have all these guys that have like 2 or 3 Tommy John surgeries each. In
The
bull-
problem is that
in
team
the-
is very old.
on the stable.
Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts.
I would not.
I mean, Trey, they have like 4 former MVPs on their roster.
Yeah.
How
many-
And like 3 or 4 former Cy Young guys.
I don't think there's another choice at World Series right there.
I don't.
It
I
seems
can
like the easy
obviously
choice.
take. Yeah.
I don't know if it's the best one. I feel like the injury bug's gonna bite at some point.
I think it's going to be the Athletics.
And baseball's such a random sport. It doesn't matter how much money you spend. You can't really buy a championship. I think you could say that about most sports. So just because they have the highest payroll and they have all the names,
They bought a championship in 2021.
did they buy a championship or did they actually earn that one?
And they just won one
think they
last
earned
year.
that one.
No, they didn't. They lost to the Yankees.
Exactly. Well, the Yankees are the other high payroll team, but the Yankees are also doing it without pitchers.
Yeah.
So you got to think about that as well. The
I
Dodgers
think-
lost to a team with no pitchers.
The Mets are going to get talked about a lot this season.
The Mets were really good in the second half of last year.
Yes, and in the playoffs, if you guys at home were watching, they had a fantastic end of that season.
Pete Polar Bear Alonso.
Yeah, and Francisco Lindor was definitely, obviously, a Golden Glove, and he was up for MVP last year.
Honestly, I think if things go well, the Mets have a pretty good shot at winning the National League.
Yeah,
They have the hitters. They have the pitchers. They've spent all the money. But, the Mets are going to Mets, and if things blow up, don't be surprised if Pete Alonso is wearing a Rays uniform at the end of the year. That's what I'm going to say. That rumor, that's been a rumor for like as long as he's been in the league that he wants
course
to come
everybody wants to play
that he
home,
wants to
sure.
come play in Tampa.
yeah.
So-
The
Born and
Mets
raised.
are like the Falcons of the MLB, just choking.
That's honestly
Literally-
Way to come back with baseball.
Nothing in their entire existence has been outside of choking. That's it.
I would have gone with
in my memory, they have just choked everything.
Well, the Falcons are kind of a younger franchise. I would have gone with more like the Buffalo Bills or the Minnesota Vikings. 2 older franchises that still don't win.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're spot on, Trey. They lose everywhere. Like the New York Jets. That's what it is. It's the Jets.
Because also New York.
Yeah.
Well, I'm rooting for a Subway Series. So I'm
That would
rooting
be
for
fun.
That would be
Mets
a lot
and
of fun.
Yankees.
That would be a lot of fun.
And,
We almost had it last year.
Yeah, and breaking news update from earlier: Tim Anderson signed with the Angels.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. New low for them.
there's your MVP candidate.
Did you see Mike Trout is switching over to right field as well?
Yeah,
That move should have come 5 years ago, man. God, what a franchise.
And he kept getting hurt, and
The Angels just waste talent, man.
They
Shohei,
had Anthony Rendon, Shohei Ohtani, and Mike Trout on the same roster, and I think they won a total of 30 games together.
Hunter Renfroe.
Did they have Hunter Renfroe?
They did have Hunter Renfroe.
Wow.
I remember watching the
Rays
Padres
legend.
game.
Rays legend.
and
Raiders
not
legend.
Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders.
That's right. That's right. There's another Hunter Renfroe.
There's this like
That
a
one went
little
to
white dude.
Clemson. That's right. And so do you still need my pick?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Rays Marlins.
Whoa.
Way off the board.
Oh my god.
Just for the fun. I love baseball just because it's so random. Anything could happen this year.
You have no
the
idea.
Marlins. The Marlins went from being a wild card team, making virtually no changes to the roster, to losing like the first 20 games of the season last year. Isn't that
So
crazy?
let's see if they make it.
Let's see it happen in reverse.
You know what? I'm gonna go with another intercity one. Give me the Cubs and the Sox.
Ooh.
Oh my God, those are like the 2 worst teams in baseball, Trey.
I think those are also
That's the
two.
joke, Tyler.
Trey, are those not 2 NL teams?
Yeah, they're also 2
No,
National League
they're
teams.
not.
What?
They're
No.
not. White Sox are American League.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Trey
That's
got
right.
it
That's
right.
right. I
Trey
literally
got it
just
right.
said Tim Anderson
Cubs
for
are
AL
30 to
MVP.
1 odds. They are predicted for 86 wins by ESPN.
It's a wild
The
card.
White Sox are the longest shot at 400 to 1.
Good
They're
God.
predicted for 50 wins.
Where do the Marlins sit? And where do the Rays sit?
Marlins are only 2 spots ahead of the White Sox. They are
Nice.
300 to 1 odds.
Nice.
Predicted for 63 wins this year. But, hey, maybe they'll shock the world, right?
Yeah.
The Rays
They've done it twice before.
are middle of the pack. They are 50 to 1 odds. They're predicted for a 581 and 81 season
All
by
right.
ESPN. This is ESPN.
I feel like
Guys,
they.
I was
I
just
feel like they
kidding.
hit around 80 wins every single year, regardless.
Yeah, that's a Rays thing.
It
I don't
definitely
know.
is.
I feel like
So
Just
we're gonna
go
switch.
ahead.
We're gonna switch pages.
Yeah, go ahead.
Switching back to the Bucs just for a little bit because we like to have some fun here.
We like the Bucs.
We're big Bucs fans, so of course we got to hit us
Huge.
back.
Absolutely.
Rashad White the other day was reported as a very likely trade candidate. We obviously saw today, or yesterday maybe, Cooper Kupp is up for a trade. We saw Myles Garrett a couple weeks ago up for trades. But I believe it was last week, we saw Rashad White go up there, and they said that we've likely seen the last game of Rashad White in a Bucs uniform. So, boys, what's your take on that?
I don't know about trade. I don't think there's much. Like, what are you going to flip him for? A 6th or 7th round pick? Like, we've seen superstars in the NFL go for 4th round picks at best. Especially Jason Pierre-Paul. He was a 4th round pick for the Bucs, and at that point he was a 15 sack guy like every year. So I don't know what you get out of trading Rashad White. You could clear $2 or $3 million in cap space if you really want to work around the margins. If you really have to, I don't know. He's a really well liked guy in the community as well as the organization. He's had a bit of a fumble problem, but we didn't see him at the end of last year. Like, I think he took a total of 11 carries in the final 3 games. So I mean, I don't know if he gets traded. It's more likely that he gets cut. I think
He could also be included in a package deal or something.
I mean,
I see him included in a lot of like proposed package deals for like Myles Garrett. I just like
what kind of value does that really add?
Well,
it's like throwing in a 7th.
Unfortunately, running backs are so devalued in the league right now. Like, I mean, who was the guy for San Francisco last year? They just plugged in and he ran for 100 yards.
Oh my God,
Isaac Guerrero.
They did that
Guerendo,
twice.
like-
They did that twice.
And they did it with
And
another
Jordan
guy.
Mason.
Jordan
And
Mason.
Jordan Mason's. Like, so, I mean, so why do you need to trade for a running back when you pull a guy off the waiver wire and you run for 100?
I think Saquon has upped the running back's value, and so has Derrick Henry, who had a very overshadowed season because of Saquon. But
Yes, but
Those are two guys
Those,
in-
those are two guys that are so far ahead of the rest of the guys.
It's also entirely scheme dependent for those two as well. Like, those are guys that are that successful because of the scheme that they're in. Remember, we just saw Saquon in New York a year ago, and he was a totally different running back because the offensive line stunk, the offense stunk, and there was nowhere for him to go. But it just so happens that you pair one of the most talented running backs in the NFL with the best offensive line in the league, they're going to be successful. And then you pair Derrick Henry with an all-right offensive line, which was already better than the one he was playing with in Tennessee. And then you pair him with Lamar Jackson, and you force defenses to choose one. He's going to have a very successful year. So I will push back on the fact that those two are proving a separate rule. I think that those two exceptions prove the rule.
So, my question for you, Tyler, is you said Rashad White was not a candidate for a trade, really, right? So, would Jamel Dean be up for anything in a trade? Because we saw Carlton Davis last year go for a 2nd.
Yeah, he went for a 2nd, and then I think they swapped 4ths
Yes,
or
and
something
the
like that
second-
with Detroit.
That 2nd round pick turned into Jalen McMillan.
Right, and then the other one turned into Tyke Smith.
Yes.
So it's a little bit different. Carlton Davis was coming off probably the best year of his career before he got traded. He had a great season that year, and he was a year younger than he is now, and the cap number was different than it is now. He actually had a better cap number than Jamel Dean, I believe, and Jamel Dean missed a significant amount of time this year. He didn't look great when he did play. I think he's more likely to be cut as well. I don't think there's... The problem is that, only the superstars in the NFL really get traded. Superstars and then guys to, practice squad guys to swap 7th round picks and to figure out better cap numbers for your teams.
I mean, we're coming into a time of the year where there are free agents that are available and there are draft picks that will be able to be made. And so you're looking at, is it worth it to give up is this guy so good that it's worth it to give up resources rather than just signing a guy or drafting a guy?
Right, exactly. And there's a lot of good corners in free agency. There's plenty. And, this is it's a top-heavy corner draft, but there's still value. It's more a question of, are you going to pay for a 29-year-old Jamel Dean, or Like, are you going to spend like a 4th round pick on a 29-year-old Jamel Dean that you don't really know what you have, or are you going to draft a guy from some mid-major who has some potential?
And don't get me wrong. I mean, if we're going to move on from Rashad White or Jamel Dean, I'd love to get something in exchange. But I'm not sure that we're ready to move on from them. I mean, 2 years ago when we re-signed Jamel Dean, we re-signed him because he was the best corner on the market, so we re-signed him.
Exactly.
Rashad White is a heck of a third down running back. I don't ever think he's going to be he's definitely not going to be a Derrick Henry or a Saquon Barkley. I don't even know if he'll ever rush for 1,000 yards, but he has value.
Yeah.
And as much as we love Bucky Irving, he can't carry the load and carry the ball every single time next season. He's not a 300 carry guy. So we're going to need a number 2 back somewhere along the line.
Right. But the other question is, like, can Sean Tucker fill that role?
Right.
Yes.
And can you save money that way and draft another running back?
Something that I was looking at in my mock drafts and stuff is that there's a lot of talent still in the 7th round that I was finding of running backs. Jaden
there's a
Blue
lot of running
from
backs.
Texas. Jaden Blue from Texas played fantastic in the college football playoff, and he's a 7th round pick right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors into that. We just talked about the value of a running back.
And yeah, that's what I was saying, is that you can find Jaden Blue there, and he might be able to fit in any system. And just click, he works.
You guys want to know how far ahead Saquon and Derek are from the pack? So I pulled up the stats. Saquon has 2,005 rushing yards. Derek has 1,921. The next guy down, Bijan Robinson, has 14,000. That is 1,400. I'm sorry, guys. It's been a long day.
But yeah.
500-yard difference between the 2 and the 3.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, since Rashad doesn't hold as much value to the team as he did, we have a running back 1 and a running back 2. We don't need another running back 2, I feel. But then he's a huge thing for the community. He's a really good guy. Everyone loves him. It's
I feel like we're also losing that, like, Rashad White is not a terrible running back either.
No, he's not.
He's
not
above
bad at
average.
all.
I would say he's above average. He's a great pass catcher. He has great pass protection. He lacks a little in field vision, but he's got the quickness. He's got the power behind his pads.
He's got the size that we need.
And he's got the size. He's huge.
Yeah.
He's a huge running back. I think he's perfectly fine with a running back 2 role. And I don't think that he will get cut. And I definitely don't think he's going to get traded. I think that Sean Tucker is going to be the third running back on the roster. And I don't think they're going to draft a running back either. They should, but I don't think they will.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to move on. I don't know why my mic is being funky, but it is. So we're going to deal with it. And today I wanted to talk about some other things, but first, Dad's got some trivia for us.
You guys are always trying to get me, but I got a good one this week. And so I'm going to lay it on you guys, all right? We're going to talk about Super Bowl quarterbacks, all right? Super Bowl quarterbacks. So there are currently 7 NFL quarterbacks that have lost a Super Bowl. Name the 7 NFL quarterbacks that have active quarterbacks that have lost a Super Bowl.
Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, you got 2.
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow, that's 3.
Ooh, good Lord. You have to go through every single one.
Just starters? We're just talking starters?
No, they're rostered.
Joe Flacco.
Rostered.
Blaine Gabbert. No?
No. We're not talking backups.
Okay.
We're not talking guys that were back. They were starting quarterbacks in the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's what I said. Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a toughie.
Good God.
You got to think back.
Okay, hold on. Let's go through it like in a row. So
You do that in your head.
Okay, all right, jeez. Well, let's just have like dead air.
I want to be faster than you.
Yeah. We'll put on some music.
Jimmy
for you
Garoppolo.
Here you go.
Ooh. Okay.
3 more.
Just 3 more.
It's not going to be Stafford because he's only been once.
Yes, Stafford.
Stafford, yeah.
When did he lose?
Oh, wait, no, sorry.
No?
It's not Stafford. My bad.
Dang.
False flag.
How many years ago was this?
What was the three-peat for the Chiefs? Eagles. Well, they lost.
Eagles, Niners. So Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy. There you go. That's 5. 2 more.
Oh, jeez.
Goodness.
Before 2020 was
Almost
2019. The Chiefs beat.
Jared Goff.
There you go.
Rodgers.
Switch teams. That's a tricky
Rodgers.
one. Not Rodgers. No. He went once and he won.
He's only won. He's only been once.
Matt Ryan. No, he retired.
No, he's
retired.
retired.
Wait. We already said.
You guys are. You're in the right era though. So keep going.
Okay. 2018 was.
I feel like I'm right there.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm right there.
Wasn't that was
You're gonna
Jared
kick
Goff.
yourselves.
I definitely am.
Who was before Jared Goff? Brady's
That
not
was
active.
Foles. He's not in the league.
Nope, not Foles.
17.
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson.
Good
job, Trey.
and screw you.
Wow. Wow. That's a good one.
It's a good one. I
a good
know.
one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially because Wilson and Goff had switched teams, so they were hard
Right.
to
Are
get.
you not entertained?
And when I was asked that, I only missed one. It was Purdy. I thought Garoppolo was the 1-9er. I forgot they'd been there twice. So
Yeah, that's right. That's crazy to think about.
I got
Goodness.
Garoppolo. I didn't get Purdy.
Shanahan, always
That's
an angel,
crazy.
never a god, huh?
Yep. All right. Cool. Well, thank you for humoring me, guys.
Yeah, that was a good one. Wow. I had to think forwards. I had to think like, okay,
What?
hold on. Cam Newton lost in like 2013, and then after that was Russell.
I was
yeah.
going backwards in my head. in
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
Bowls. I didn't quite get to Wilson. I got to Ryan, and then we'd already said Ryan. I was like, oh
2015.
man, poor Russ.
Poor Russ.
Dude looked like he was gonna be in GOAT conversations.
Yeah, he was.
Fell off a cliff. They honestly, I think Seattle did them dirty, sending him to Denver like that.
Yeah.
They sent that man out to pasture. That stinks. That really does. He was my favorite quarterback.
Yes, he was.
He was my favorite quarterback growing up.
That was one of your first
I
jerseys.
swear to God,
Yeah.
we had like so many Seattle Seahawks
I mean, it was-
jerseys in this house.
It was between
Sherman.
We had two Russell Wilson
Shaquem
jerseys.
Griffin.
Yes.
That's right. we did have a
That one
Shaquem.
fell apart
Oh my
though.
gosh.
Yeah, Russ was my favorite. It was between him and Mike Lennon. So I think that was a pretty.
I think you were right. to pick
Ironically,
Russ.
that's the same decision that like Wisconsin made, right?
It was
Oh,
NC
God.
State.
NC
Yes.
State, yeah.
They chose Mike Glennon over Russell.
That's right. That's
he
right.
went to Wisconsin.
That was a bad decision, huh? Picked a giraffe.
So, last thing up for today, starting my favorite. No, it's not my favorite. We already know my favorite. My yearly segment that I did last year talked about Peyton Wilson Jr. We talked about the underrateds. So today,
In the NFL draft, you're talking about. Yes.
underrateds, and then we will also bring up after that my free agent of the week.
Free agent of the week.
Yes. So
Of the week.
every week I'm going to do a free agent of the week.
Oh.
Yeah. So, starting up with my book right here. Start with the first on the underrateds. I've only got two for today because in honor of Peyton Wilson, I'm doing two linebackers.
Oh my God.
So,
Good Lord.
guy from last week. Both of them I talked about last week a little bit, but this is Carson Schwessinger. I think I got it that time.
Worcestershire sauce.
Yes.
UCLA.
620 inside linebacker snaps, 48 from the slot, 37 from the defensive line. 52nd ranked on PFF. He led all of NCAA in solo tackles with 90. He had 136 total tackles, 9 TFLs, 4 sacks, 3 passes defensed, and 2 INTs. 3 words for him are fast, undersized, and aggressive. He is 6'2", 225, which is in the bottom 20% of this draft class. He has an 80.6 PFF grade. He was a finalist for the Butkus Award and a semifinalist for the Burlsworth Trophy. He was on the All Big Ten team.
What college did you go to?
UCLA.
Did you say 52nd overall? Is that linebackers or you're in the
No,
draft?
that's total in the draft.
I mean,
I so that's top 2 rounds.
Yes.
Okay.
I was gonna say that like he led the NCAA with the most tackles, but who was he playing? Old Dominion, but like
UCLA did.
UCLA, big
Yeah.
college. That's pretty impressive.
They were
Yes.
Big 10 this year, right?
Yeah.
Big 10 or Big 12?
Big Ten.
I unfortunately, I lost
Yeah,
track.
whatever.
They'll always be Pac-12.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm with you on that one.
So my second linebacker, snaps wise, really reminds me of Isaiah Simmons, which scares me a little bit, but I like him a lot. This is Jihad Campbell. Jihad Campbell
heard
took
of him.
36 snaps at inside linebacker, 112 at D line, 27 from the slot, and 5 from a defensive back position. He has an 81.6 PFF grade and ranks 44th on PFF for the 2025 draft. He had 54 solo tackles, 5 sacks, 12 TFLs, 2 forced fumbles, 2 passes defensed, and 89 total tackles.
I can't believe we're calling
These
it.
aren't sleeper enough for me.
I feel
Okay.
like I feel like it's crazy that we're calling a Alabama linebacker underrated.
And the reason is because he played so many snaps at everywhere. Yes, he played the majority, 81.6% of his snaps at inside linebacker. But the amount that he played otherwise takes away from the fact that he's just a linebacker, and it makes him a little bit more.
Man, I was hoping you were going to pull out like a Kobe King or a Jalen Walker here.
Don't worry,
Not that Jalen Walker from Georgia, but the one from Indiana.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those are my.
I got some
inside
D-backs
linebackers.
for next week. They go pretty deep. He was a semifinalist for the Bednarik and Butkus. He was the player of the week in week 11. 3 words to describe Jihad Campbell. What?
Nothing. Go.
Are quick, not fast, quick. He has a fast reaction time, so reaction is my word for that. And the third one is athletic.
You watch his film, he's got some of the best pass rusher moves that I've seen in a while.
The funny thing about it...
That's bold.
Yeah, that is very bold. But he has, of the snaps that he played at defensive line, 112, all 5 of his sacks came from that position. And that makes him having a 4% of plays, he had a sack. If I converted that to all of his snaps, he would have had 48 sacks this year. I mean, of course, he only has this small little segment of it, so we're not going to take that stat seriously.
So what you're saying is he's converting on his blitzes.
Yes,
Okay.
and he's very, very good at it. But yeah, that's my players
Okay.
underrated.
I think we're going to have to stop calling this the underrated segment. I
It's
think
Noah's
this-
favorite player.
Noah's favorite players
Yeah,
is
that's
much better.
what it is. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
much better name for it because I went to CBS Sports and the top 2 rated linebackers in the draft are Jihad Campbell and Carson Schweizer.
Yep, that'll do it.
So
That'll do it.
They're definitely not underrated. I mean, maybe you could argue that they should go higher than the first and second round, but they are the top 2.
Yeah,
running
inside linebacker is one of those positions that's been devalued, just like the running back. So you're not probably not going to see either of those guys go in the first round.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah,
In my opinion, it's pretty wild that these 2 guys who are the top 2 linebackers.
yeah, but it just like Scadaboo's probably going to fall out of the first round.
Yeah.
So
The reason that I liked Jihad Campbell is his versatility. In a Bulls defense, he likes an outside linebacker that can go and put in coverage. I saw way too many actually, positions where we put Diaby and Shoyinka out in coverage, and neither of those guys do I think of them for their coverage.
I
And-
would argue Joe Tryon's more effective out there
Yes,
than he is
yes.
rushing the quarterback.
But
just
they're
'cause-
both very large men who I don't see with speed to go and cover a wide receiver, which I saw multiple times this season. Something that I can see with Jihad is that he can cover those guys. So I would like him to go in and replace Joe Tryon-Shoyinka at
Well,
outside linebacker.
Give us the measurables on him again.
He's 6'3", 244. He could potentially be running though a 4.5, 4.6. Very fast.
He's kind of small to play outside linebacker because in the 3-4 system, those outside linebackers are pass rushers on
Yeah.
probably 80% of downs.
Yeah.
So
My player of the week, who is a free agent, it's Byron Murphy from the Vikings. He led all of the NFL in INTs, most interceptions this season with 6. He was ranked 33rd on PFF for corners with a 72.8 grade, not the best. 1,056 snaps, 349 were in a rush defense, and 5 from a pass rush. The rest of them were coverage.
man, how controversial of a corner do you have to be to lead the league in interceptions and also only be graded in the 70s?
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So he had 69 total tackles.
Let me tell you about Wayne Haddix. No, I'll go back some other time.
What about Trevon Diggs? Did the same thing.
69 tackles, solo tackles, 1 forced fumble, 20 stops, 16 missed tackles, which reminds me too much of our favorite corners, 6 INTs, and 76 receptions. Those 76 were third out of cornerbacks.
Third most.
Third least
All right.
out of like starters. So
Gotcha.
pretty good corner right here. I see him playing a major role if he's a Buck. And I do think that he would be able to take the role over Jamel Dean. But he's got to be paid money.
I mean, most
Restructuring-
interceptions in the year is a pretty big selling point.
I mean,
And-
Jamel Dean got paid $15 million a year for being above average. That guy's gonna get paid so much money.
His market value, according to Spot Track, thank you Spot Track, is at $9 million, and it's because he's mostly a zone corner, which is ridiculous because how are you having 6 INTs at zone corner? But he's a pretty good guy. Not good guy. He's a pretty good corner. Yeah, I like him a lot as a prospect for this Bucs team.
I think there's more valuable options for the Bucs.
Yeah.
There's higher graded corners that are going to probably be cheaper. So I mean, you know, if obviously they're going to kick the tires.
Yeah.
But I'd be more interested in bringing back Carlton Davis, and I'm not super interested. So
Yeah.
but definitely an interesting guy. 6 interceptions to lead the league is kind of low, honestly.
Yeah.
I would have expected 8 or 9.
8, 9,
probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's the leader.
It's kind of weird.
Quarterbacks don't throw as many interceptions as they used to.
That's true.
You know, they don't let Jameis Winston start anymore.
They don't let a Brock Osweiler.
They cut the league total in half.
Peyton Manning's. We lost Peyton Manning, and sadly,
both Mannings.
Yeah, both Mannings, both of the INT.
Blake Bortles doesn't. Those kinds of guys don't get very long. You know, they kind of pull the ripcord on those guys pretty early now.
Case Keenum.
Yeah, but Manning was a Hall of Famer. So, thank you all for listening to the Dynamite Sports Podcast today. Go check us out. Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, Facebook, all the places. We are having our faces there. Thank you for listening. We'll send you out, as always. Trey, that's $5 with a bang.
Oh, like 15.